Hello and welcome to Central Georgia Focus, the Ask Mayor Miller edition. Each month we sit down with the mayor of Macon-Bibb County and ask him the questions you send to us and questions from the journalists at the Center for Collaborative Journalism. Thank you so much again, Mr. Mayor, for joining us as you do every month out of your busy schedule. Now, as we meet, the Georgia General Assembly is winding down its special session. Is there anything you're looking for them to do or want them to do?
Nothing at all. I think this is pretty much a waste of a legislative session. From what I've been able to tell, there hasn't been much of anything done.
There was some provision about the QR codes on the ballots,
Right.
and they had to have that settled by July 1st or something, I guess. Is that the reason?
I mean, I heard everything from redistricting, which certainly was not going to happen and did not happen. There's a bunch of local bills for these unhoused, these additional pennies, and I don't think that made it across the finish line either. And then, yes, you have the QR codes for the ballots, and some national things going on, and a bunch of funding, threats back and forth. But, in actuality, I think by January 2028 or something like that, or maybe next year, they want to have paper ballots again, and only for the top two on the ballot, which is kind of interesting. So it's another unfunded mandate where we have to count things by hand. It costs a lot more money, but yet state's not giving us any more money to hire personnel.
Of course, the last time we met, too, the primaries and nonpartisan general election runoffs had yet to be decided. Are you surprised that neither Burt Jones or John Kennedy survived the runoff?
I wouldn't say surprised. I think certainly they were both the leading vote getters at the runoff period of time, and sometimes that switches on you. By the time your number 3, 4, and 5 candidates get involved, sometimes in a close race it could switch some things. You could tell probably the last week before early voting that things have started to change a little bit. I saw Burt slipping a little bit, John Kennedy slipping a little bit, and their opponents gaining on them. Kemp came out and really helped out Burt Jones at the very end, but a little bit too late. By the time early voting had happened, Rick Jackson was way ahead of the game, and of course Keisha's sitting there watching both of them spend a lot of money, so it's been interesting to see what happens in November.
Of course, Rick Jackson was pretty much unknown around most of the state at the beginning of this, but then after $100 million later, here he is, the Republican candidate. So how do you feel about that money being pumped into a race like that?
It's a lot of money. I don't think we've seen the end of it yet. Unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more commercials as we get. We've already started seeing it from Keisha and her supporters, and I think Rick Jackson's going to be the same way. And, we got, races up and down the ballot. So I think we're in for a bumpy ride between now and November. And, of course, we still have a lot of national items going on as well. So we can't get away from it.
It was interesting because Rick Jackson was trying to make like he's the Trump candidate, but yet Trump had endorsed Burt Jones multiple times, and then he was trying to play like he was Brian Kemp's best buddy, and then Kemp came out for Burt Jones. Do you think that later endorsement hurt that?
I don't think it hurt it. I think it's just a little bit too late. I think Kemp felt the pressure, needed to do something there at the end. After early voting, it was obvious that Rick Jackson was way ahead. He cut into that lead, had a sizable lead, so he cut into that lead, but it's a little bit too late. So, we'll see what happens. I think I'm going to listen to both sides for the next several months, and we have to, vote our conscience come November.
On the local level, Marshall Talley is headed to District 2 on the Macon Water Authority. There's been more controversy there. District 1's Elaine Lucas is calling for an investigation after a complaint was filed about her treatment of a staff member. What are your thoughts about all that seeming infighting going on?
It doesn't help the community move forward. I'm not sure of all the particulars there. I know it involves a personnel issue, which are things you typically don't discuss out publicly. Commissioner Lucas, as I still call her, she's going to do her thing her way. And in actuality, we just hope there's an open and transparent process, and hope they can heal some of the wounds over there. You've got a good board over there now. I think you've got a solid board. I don't think you're going to have quite so much division. I did notice that the former candidate there stood up there with her, Mr. Desmond Brown there, who's going to be out of the office for a couple of years now. So we'll see what happens. Marshall's already gotten sworn in, and I look forward to some good things for him as well.
Now, Princess T wants to know, how does your administration ensure that city resources are distributed equitably across neighborhoods of different racial and socioeconomic backgrounds, and what evidence demonstrates that historically underserved communities are receiving their fair share of public investment?
Well, that's way too much to unpack in a small segment like this, but I will tell you, you can simply follow the money. I mean, if you look at the underserved areas in our community, they receive most of all the funds. If you look at our our blighted houses that we have there. If you look at our new housing that we have coming on board, you look at the roads that we take care of there. Look at the programs. I'm making mental health programs. We're targeted to those areas. I'm making violence prevention targeted to those areas. Our affordable housing, like in Pleasant Hill and over on Houston Avenue, East Macon, are targeted to those areas. So the money does follow that trail there. We try to do things in an equitable way. At the same time, when you look at our roads program, we did that in an equitable way as well. We looked at all the 1,100 miles that we have. We graded those, and we're performing those in a manner that needs to be. I'm getting a lot of compliments on the Napier area, which runs through multiple diverse areas and economic areas there as well. So I think that where we spend our money is a good sign of that. If you look at our programs, that's a good sign of that. But certainly any requests that they want to make on where dollars are spent, they can look at our budget and get that information as well.
Well, when it comes to county priorities, too, I saw some online criticism concerning the change in the SPLOST buckets, they call them, the spending categories. What's the distinction between cultural and recreation and the new proprietary properties category?
I think really if you just kind of look at the general layperson, we had in the buckets when we did that, we lumped them all together, and we decided here recently to separate those so we can make sure that people knew that when you have this particular type of building, it may not be considered a cultural building to some people or your typical recreation. Recreations are typically your things like your recreation centers and places where kids go to swim and to playgrounds and that. So we want to make sure we kind of have some distinction there. You can put them in the same bucket, nothing wrong with that. We passed a SPLOST doing that, but it's a distinction that our lawyers thought needed to be made, so we did that.
So what is a proprietary property then? Something like the amphitheater or the arena or
something like the arena. The arena would be one of those things. It's also considered a cultural place, a recreation place as well, but most people don't commonly think of that as a recreation place or a cultural place. So I remember being on the school board and we were going to do a cultural arts center, a place where they would graduate, but also host different events. Usually when you think about culture in that sense, you may think about theater and performances and things like that. So we just want to make sure that we were kind of be as open and transparent as possible, make sure that the commissioners as well as the public knew what we were voting on, where that money was going to.
And about half of the expected 2027 SPLOST proceeds from the 2025 SPLOST is going to retire the bond debt. Now, I saw some criticism saying that nothing's been done yet, but what actually has been done with that $50 million in bonds that you borrowed against what was coming in from the SPLOST, right?
Oh yeah, we paved 20 years of roads in 1 year. So I mean, we've got the jail coming up that we're paying for over there. We've got many requests from the sheriff's department. I mean, the whole $50 million, if you're talking about just the bond money we borrowed, and of course there's interest on top of that we have to pay as well. That's been utilized, but you don't not only have debt from existing debt now, you have pre-existing debt that you had from previous administrations. Those come due every year, and it takes a lot better approach to do it for our citizens to use that out of SPLOST dollars instead of general fund, because when you use out of general fund, you deplete those funds for other services that you can't recuperate. It's like paying staff and taking care of day-to-day operations that you can't do with SPLOST dollars. So you can use debt for SPLOST dollars. It's the more appropriate place to do that, and it doesn't affect your general fund, and it doesn't increase your property taxes.
There's also that pending $350 million bond deal for the new arena project. When are we going to see that design, and when are you scheduling the groundbreaking?
Well, I suspect by the time this airs, the show that we're doing today, we would have already had our big reveal. So stay tuned, maybe later today. You'll find out new information about that, and I'm so excited about it. I mean, people are just going to be really floored at the incredible work that's been put behind this project. It's going to really show what Macon's all about. It's going to be the top facility in the whole state of Georgia. You can bet on that.
We were talking about the new arena project, and I spent last week in Columbus judging Miss Georgia Teen, and I saw the walkability of that area. Stayed at the Marriott. We had everything at the River Center for Performing Arts. Then across the street is the Civic Center. So are you confident that you're going to be able to bring your vision to reality in the remainder of your term?
Well, I think most of it. I think that we'll have the arena certainly open by then. We'll have a good start on the Mercer. The project may be complete by then. The new convention center, that walkability piece will probably carry into someone's next term. So I think that's all, the vision's going to get done. We got the people in the place and the funds in place to do that, and I think it's going to carry on. Certainly it's going to be more walkable. I think the arena, you can walk across the 2nd Street Bridge, which is going to be the new entrance into downtown Macon as well. So your Spring Street entrance there, very wide. very walkable, drivable, and I think it's going to flow nicely into, Mulberry Street, Walnut Street, all the way to Cherry, to Poplar, to Plum. It's going to be a very easy walk, just like you were perhaps walking in Savannah. So I think it's going to be something for everybody, and it's certainly going to get done in a reasonable time.
Now, in the last commission meeting, there was a little bit of lighthearted bantering back and forth between you and Commissioner Stewart about whether or not the fireworks contract 5 years out was going to post-date your administration, and you said, I'm not so sure about that. So what are you thinking? Do you still have that avenue?
Well, I think the avenue is always there. I'm not worried about any potential third term. What I was jesting about basically is that I'm still going to be around. Whether it's the mayor or in any other capacity, I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere, and certainly the life of the city of Macon doesn't revolve around Lester Miller, and I think people need to remember that we have contracts all the time. We just passed a 10-year SPOS from 2025 to 2035, and we're making decisions based on that, including the commissioner who made that statement, who will likewise will not be here as well. So I think that we just have to do what's right for the community, not worry about what our personal involvement is going to be on that. And I'm just laying the foundation. My children are still going to be here. I'm going to be here. My family's still going to be here. So I'm very concerned about the future of Macon-Bibb County, and I'm going to do what I can today to make sure we leave it a better place.
Now, on the subject of public safety, Deanna Thomas wants to know what your administration is doing to reduce violent crime and improve public safety, provide positive alternatives to youth, and make sure concerns are heard and acted upon.
Well, the main thing I can say is our Macon Violence Prevention Program is doing a lot of that. If you look at the homicide rate in 2022, we had 71 homicides. Last year we had 29. That's a 60% drop. We've had an initial uptick at the beginning of this year. We'll see how it finishes there. We continue to fund good programs. The Next Level does a wonderful job with Lakeisha Toomer out there, and our other programs that we have through our Macon Violence Prevention, our mentorship programs, our literacy programs. There's a lot to do if kids want to have something else to do. A lot of programs this summer we've taken care of to make sure that kids have a place to go. We continue to fund and improve on our recreation centers. Just so much there to do if people would actually look out and do those things. Again, I'm not talking about going to somewhere to jump on a trampoline, right? But you can go swim. You can go to a recreation center. There's many programs. There's youth sports get involved into. So we continue to fund the things that we believe is important for our community. We have to get those kids out of their bedrooms and looking at their computers all the time, and they're playing their games, and get out to the real world activities like we used to do, because it also expands their horizons, their friendships, and basically their health and well-being.
I was out of town, but I understand there was another shooting downtown off Poplar Street. There were a lot of people congregating, I think maybe early Monday morning. We had some issues a couple of years back, and code enforcement was kind of patrolling and keeping the crowds down. Are you seeing that escalate again? Is it just summer? Was it just Father's Day, Juneteenth celebration, et cetera?
I think all of the above. It happened about 1 o'clock. It happened in a particular area, by the Rafffield Tire there.
Which there was a homicide a couple years ago, right? In that same place that kind of started the concentration of the late night patrols, right?
There was a shooting there, and I think in that general area, but everything pops up. It could be, a sunny day outside with nothing going on and two people get in an argument in a certain location and someone gets shot. I think we do need a better police presence late at night when these types of things are more likely to happen, when people are under influence of alcohol or large crowds gather. So certainly this time it was not after 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, so it's nothing to do with any particular curfew that we have for bars. It's just, I understand that's been caught on videotape too, so we're looking forward to being able to arrest the culprit on that case.
Well, Will Burnside asks, would you be willing to put a moratorium on the use of AI in policing, like flock cameras? He says he gets it, that it's a useful police tool, and it's probably useful for this case, but that should take precedence over the digital security, privacy, and peace of mind of Middle Georgians. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm always willing to make sure that we put guardrails in place that's going to protect citizens. And that means protect them from their rights being violated or their privacy being violated. So if there's something that a particular department is doing that's going to violate people's rights, we're always concerned about that. I'm not sure about the moratorium part, what that even means. There's been some abuse of flock cameras in other locations, other places. We haven't heard about any abuses here, but it's like any device can be abused. A camera can be abused, and of course your cell phone can be abused as well. Weapons can be abusive, and they can be used in a proper way. So, we have a sheriff who's a constitutional officer. They make those decisions. We had some conversation about the flock cameras and the funding during our budget process. But in actuality, The commissioners can't take the flock cameras away from the sheriff. No vote could have taken that away from the sheriff. Surely they could have subtracted maybe $350,000 from his budget and said, we're taking this out of your budget, but he has a budget that are millions and millions of dollars, and he could have used other funds to do that. We have an elected sheriff, and people can elect the sheriff that they're choosing. This sheriff's been elected by over 70% of the people in our community, which leads me to believe that they feel like that he's making the decisions that are proper for policing. And if he chooses to have flock cameras, then we're certainly going to support our sheriff in that process.
James Bear Honeycutt also has concerns about flock cameras, but he also wants to hear your thoughts about data centers. You said before you don't think one would ever come to Bibb County because there's not enough available property.
Well, the data centers is a totally different situation. We don't necessarily need a data center in Macon because we don't need the money from the data centers. Most places that they're charging for data centers are undeveloped areas like Monroe County and Jones County that don't have a lot to offer otherwise. They don't have economic development as much as we do. They don't have the jobs we have. They don't have the entertainment activities we have. So they have a lot of land that's available to that, and people are taking advantage of that by making great sums of money. I'm generally not in favor of data centers. If there is a situation where a data center must come to a particular community, I'd like to be able to have some say-so where it goes. And it's going to be a place that's in a large industrial area and it's not in a residential area which can harm people. Also, I think data centers are going to continue to evolve over a period of time. Their use of water, how clean they are, how noisy they are, those things that continue to happen. Right now, it's way above our pay grade. You know, the legislature's going to do what they're going to do. Washington's going to do what they're going to do. I can tell you that there's been opportunities to have one in Macon-Bibb County. So if Lester Miller as mayor wanted one, we would have one already. But certainly I have not tried to get those. I think we have enough development here. We've got great companies coming to our community, great jobs, and we don't need to sell ourselves to the data centers right now to make a quick buck.
Todd Fairclough says that Macon-Bibb is spending heavily on public safety and surveillance and those kinds of things, but many residents still feel the basic systems are failing, like 911 response, crime prevention, jail safety, victim services, and such. So what measurable results can you talk about?
Well, I can say that those things simply are not true. We are building a $35 million expansion. We've had less serious incidents at the jail. Response times the sheriff do. I can't answer those things. I can tell you that we've hired over 150 new full and part-time deputies, the largest amount of any city our size that we've hired. We've funded an additional $20 million per year in public safety. We provided them all the tools necessary and the equipment necessary to do the job. 911, we've upgraded that system. We're going to have new systems come up according to the state in the next year or two that may help improve that. But the bottom line is we have to have good management of those resources, and people need to show up when called. And that's something the mayor can't do, but we continue to fund it at a high level.
Well, this week, P&Z denied an appeal of a transfer station company that planned to build on Meade Road. There was a permit issued, but they didn't build within the year that's required. So they can't put the transfer station there because now you have the new solid waste management system that says you can't build any kind of solid waste facility within a mile of a residence, school, recreation center, or church. So what does the county plan to do for its solid waste management? Are you still thinking about creating your own waste transfer station?
Well, we will build our own solid waste transfer station. In the very near future, we've got some SPLOST dollars allocated for that. And we're looking at some preliminary designs right now. So, you know, we want to do what we can to maintain the safety and well-being of all of our citizens. We did have a moratorium for a while on those things, but, you know, the bottom line is that's the planning and zoning's area. They looked at our plan, they looked at their policies and their procedures there, and they ruled accordingly. I know there may be a further appeal process, so I don't really want to get involved too deep in this because there may be potential litigation that I shouldn't talk about. But the main thing, we're open and transparent process. We want everybody to have a fair shake, including our citizens, not just businesses in our community. And at the end of the day, whatever happens, we'll deal with. But we do plan on having our own solid waste facility to help the taxpayers in Macon-Bibb County dispose of their trash in a reasonable and equitable manner, a very efficient manner. So it's not going to be very beneficial financially for a transfer station in Macon anyway.
Now, Jane Grant wants to know, when retail businesses come to Macon, why aren't some going into the old retail places off of Eisenhower Parkway? Why not give them an incentive to go to Macon Mall or the old Dick's location or the old Target?
Well, I guess the same thing can happen if people want to live in Macon-Bibb County. If I tell you where you have to live, or you're going to go live there if I give you an incentive, most people are not. We got lots of acres over in Bloomfield, but I can't get someone to move from North Macon to Bloomfield. And I think the same thing goes for businesses. You can't force them to locate. We offer incentives all the time. We have the Macon Bright program where they get incentives. But what people are surprised to learn is from Pioneer all the way to the Macon Mall, all those empty buildings are almost full. There's lots of businesses there. I keep reminding people of that. If you go there, it may not be where you want it, right? It may not be the dealers you want or the Trader Joe's you want, but they have people that are paying taxes and employing people in our community and providing a real service to our community. I think people constantly say, why does everything go to North Macon? Because, you know, retail chases retail, and we're in a business now where people want to be around other retail. Costco wants to be around, you know, the new mall, whatever we want to call that today. And we are getting some things coming around to the old mall. And we have holding on to some things that probably would have already left, but for the great things that we're doing over there. So the whole, you know, Presidential Parkway thing, it has everybody all concerned about, you know, this property over there like it's their property there. We're so worried about this empty property there. But what they don't realize is someone's still paying rent there. Every single month, the person is cashing a check for business that are left there. So they have absolutely no incentive to get new people there until that time expires.
Now, Beth Shiraus wants to know what the plan is for expanding local services for people experiencing homelessness, substance use abuse, mental health. So she knows that you're working on it, but we need more and we need it faster because people are out there suffering and it hurts the city's image. So what's on the horizon?
Well, lots of things. We've applied for a bunch of grants for those unhoused grants and shelter grants. We've recently been awarded some grants there for the CHIP money that we did to build some new houses, to provide some services. We've got some opioid funds that we're going to help with drug addiction that we'll be rolling that out this next year. We continue to work each and every day on protecting those that are unhoused and are homeless. And, you know, bottom line is people, sometimes people believe that they just choose to be homeless. A lot of them they're not capable of making that decisions. When we shut down the mental health institutions years ago, we started this problem, and Macon-Bibb County appears to be the hub for that. Number one, we provide such great resources for everyone. Number two, we're on the river, we're on the railroad, and we have a large city right in the middle of an interstate. So we're always going to have those challenges. The good thing is people still come to Macon. They choose Macon to live here, visit here. Millions of visitors each year come to our area. They see those issues. But guess what? They probably left those same issues to a place that they came to right before Macon, perhaps Atlanta, or perhaps Orlando, or perhaps Jacksonville. I see homeless every time we go to those places, but I still go there.
Now, what celebrations are planned for the big 250th birthday here in Macon as we celebrate July 4th?
Well, everybody has their own plans for that day. We're going to let them do that. We just awarded some fireworks money for Tobesofsky. I expect a good show at Tobesofsky. Other people have their own events going on. Warner Robins doing some things as well. You know, it is great to celebrate 250 anniversary, and certainly I'm going to celebrate the 4th of July with my family. And we just recently had the Juneteenth celebration. There's a lot of people on the parade. There's some fireworks there as well. So it's always great for people to celebrate good, wonderful things, and we like when people enjoy themselves in Macon-Bibb County. And I think that's something that's going to be continue to happen for years to come, not just on the 250th, perhaps the 251st year as well.
So sparks over the park, right?
Sparks over the park.
Well, let me just close with this. Chuck Vaughn says, I think Mayor Miller's doing a good job. He wants to bring back the days when Macon was a good place to live and grow up.
That sounds wonderful. I appreciate the support. We're going to continue to do our part each and every day.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for joining us, and thank you for being a part of the program. Remember, you can always send your questions to mercerccj@gmail.com, and we'll get you on the next show. Thanks for joining us.